I'll turn my volume up, and I will turn y'all's volume up. And greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads, and welcome back to... Well, I can't really say welcome back to this one, because we've never done anything like this before. We've mainly focused on doing things that are live games. We haven't done a story time before. So if you guys like this, we may do story times more often where we talk about things. But until that point, this is going to be our first story time, and it's going to be of Payment Due, which was a one-shot that was ran for the 200 subscriber one-shot. We have three of the 5 players. Unfortunately, we couldn't get schedules synced up for our friend from the European time zone or our friend from the Australian time zone. So, that's a bummer. But I will tell everybody what the characters were. For those of you watching, this takes place in the 9 guilds, which you can see, the 9 guilds setting, which you can see as Blood and Honor, Acquisitions and Procurements, and stuff like that. But the guild that they were involved with this time was Claw, Hoof, and Horn, run by Mother Claw. And she is a chimera. So she's the only monstrous leader of one of the guilds. But why don't I show you that instead as we get ready to talk about our players. So, the players that we had were Donald, who played... Who did you play, Donald?
Donald's dead.
No! Donald.
Donald, you're muted, brother.
Oh yeah. So to make pronouncing the name easier, Bloodmaw, but it would have been Gachik Bloodmaw.
Gach! Smile when you eat the gach!
Yeah, Gach Bloodmaw knows how very strange name for pronunciations.
Yeah, Klingon.
I'm
just giving you shit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, monster names are my favorite names. Trying to pronounce them.
Alright. So, we have one Noel, and you guys can see right here who he is. I pulled it up for the viewers. That's how he spelled it. That's who he was. And he was a priest of Oneshot, I think you said?
Correct.
Alright. Fit right in at Claw, Hoof, and Horn.
Yeah, I was thinking, Oneshot is a monster deity, so might as well play a no priest of hers.
Fair enough.
To fit this campaign setting.
Indeed. And you guys actually played higher ranking individuals within the guild because you were 10th tier guild members. So that means that you are in the higher ups. Tommy played a magic character, Sarkon Vol. So
he did. Tommy played. Go ahead.
Well, what Sarkon Vol? How did you class him, and what did you class him out as? Basically,
he was a lot of jumping around, as one can expect from me. But he was primarily a draconic shaman, it's the shaman archetype that messes around with the hexes a little bit, but hands you a Drake companion, which they're as bad as you hear. They are hot garbage. It's Paizo, I think, got a little too heavy-handed, restricting the animal companion with a decent intelligence score, I feel. But anywho, it was level 10, so he had 8 levels of his primary class, Draconic Shaman, with 1 level of Cross-Blooded Sorcerer, choosing Orc and Draconic, which, for those of us who don't know, the Bloodline Arcana for the Orc is cast a spell that deals damage, it does plus 1 point of damage per die, and then the Draconic is the same if it matches the Draconic element, and I chose a Red Dragon, so fire. And then there was 1 Sacred Fist level in there as well, so I could add my Wisdom to my armor class and get a suite of divine cantrips and Cure Light Wounds unlocked in case we needed it and bless and stuff. I took Magical Knack, choosing Shaman to make sure my DC stayed high, and the idea behind the character was, as a Shaman, which is a strictly better witch, it feels like I had the Cackling Hag's blouse and the Corset of Dire Witchcraft, and we had Misfortune and Chant and all that fun stuff, but we also had... There is a Shaman hex called Flame Curse, which gives things vulnerability to fire, and so the idea was to use that and then cast a fireball at somebody, or... There's a lot of really cool fire spells that I didn't know about, and the Human Shaman's favorite class bonus allows you to take cleric spells, so I had things like Screaming Flames, Curse of Burning Sleep, which I never got to use, Trial by Fire didn't get used either because it only works on guys at different alignments than you. But it was very, very good, very, very powerful. I hope I get to play some more first edition games, because I would definitely play 10 out of 10, play another Shaman again.
Good to know. So there you have it. And there you have that one. He had his Drake. Then we had Meldak, who was a full-on Hobgoblin fighter, 10th tier, 10th level. And his player was from Australia, but he was found by Mother Claw, it says, and was able to eventually work his way up through the ranks of the guild through determination and willpower. And this being an evil one-shot, everybody seemed to fit in. Barthran the Four Arms is next. And let me see. Barthran, there we go. Barthran was born with the blood of the abyss, so he was probably a sorcerer in that sense, and he had the ability to shift into basically a gargoyle. He would shift into a 4-armed gargoyle, and use multi-attack and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. And then there was Nurgen. Nurgen the Leech.
Another thing to add, if I remember correctly, the Tiefling Sorcerer, I think he went with the Demon subtype.
Mm-hmm. I think you're probably right. He was born near the Abyss, so...
The Demon subtype for the Tiefling is pretty good for a Charisma Sorcerer build.
I think it's a Strength Charisma minus Int, I believe, the Pit-born Tiefling.
It would be Strength and Charisma, and then negative Int for Demon Tieflings.
Yeah, and that was his shtick pretty much, was he was casting Monstrous Physique all the time to get a bunch of extra arms and be a gargoyle and stuff. It was pretty good.
Pretty cool.
I've had a lot of people over at BDG, they'll comment on the videos and they get real, salty. For lack of a better way to say it, salty. I'm not trying to haha, look at that guy, about how the melee sorcerer seems kind of forced in Pathfinder First Edition, and I just, I've seen a lot of people play melee sorcerers in my day. If you go watch, oh god, I can't think of the last one-shot in 9 guilds before this one that we did, that I played Aiden, and more importantly, Kane played Agabos, a...
Investigations in the Dark, sorcerer. I think is what it was.
Yes, that one. And he was a melee sorcerer, and he outdamaged the Uber Charger that I was playing. They're very, very good.
Well, your Uber Charger was a small-sized creature, too.
Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff that was targeting my mount. That cloud was spooky.
A properly built melee touch sorcerer build is pretty deadly, especially if you focus on a lot of damaging sorcerer spells and get to use your attacks, natural attacks, using monster physique. That's a pretty good build right there.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking grasp or anything like that. That is a deadly melee build right there.
Indeed. But that does not tell us about Nurgen the Leech. He was someone that you won't find in the regular books for Pathfinder, was he? That's your cue, Levi. Levi.
He's dead. He's not muted now. He was muted.
We can't hear you.
Speak up, son!
Okay, so what I remember about... I will start talking until he gets himself in to talk. What I remember is that Nurgen was called the Leech because Nurgen the Leech was a Vitalist, I think it is, psionic, third-party class.
That's right.
And this is, for one thing, this is a one-shot. Why not have third-party? It's not going to break your game world. And for two, what's the big deal? I mean, it was fun. It wasn't really that broken considering there was still damage being spread around, but it was just being spread around. So, it was a fun build for him, as long as he didn't get into any kind of up close and personal stuff. But spoilers, that did happen.
Yeah.
Ah, there he is. So tell them exactly what you were playing, Levi, because I don't recall every single detail. You probably know your character better.
Yeah. Yeah, again, already stated, but I like saying Nurgen the Leech. I was playing a Vitalist who was, like, my path was Soul Thief, which didn't change a whole lot. I was playing 2 archetypes on top that, as I added people to my group, I could hurt them instead of help them. I'm trying to remember the exact names, and I can't open things up properly, but one was the Sadist Path, and let's see. Basically, I could hurt members in my group to heal other ones. I could move blindness around, unconsciousness. The party's health and wellness became a resource that I could divvy up close to how I saw fit.
Right. It was really cool.
Yeah, it would have been really sweet to, like, I cast Hold Person on myself, fail that save, and then Nurgen passes the paralysis to someone else in the collective, and then my dragon, or my Drake, because dragons are good and I can't have nice things, goes and redraws it.
I mean, yeah, I can pass paralysis on.
It was pretty...
Synergy is real.
The best part based upon what type of spell you use if you fail willingly, and then give it to someone who is immune to, say, effect. That is one good way to work that built in.
Oh my god, that is... Could you do that? Is that a thing? Like, if someone was playing an elf and you cast sleep on yourself and then you pass it to the guy who's immune, is he just a carrier?
I would rule no, because he was technically unaffected. There would be no effect to pass on. So...
That's
Although, fair. If we had someone in our party who was immune to sleep and you got sleep and I passed it on, I would cure your sleep without having to, like, sleep one of our friends.
That's fair.
I don't know. It did not come up. So,
we'll do another one shot. What are you guys doing tomorrow? It'll be great. It's super sweet.
No.
Actually, I'm busy tomorrow. So is Adam.
So, Claw, Hoof, and Horn. They all were members of Claw, Hoof, and Horn of the 10th tier, so they were well trusted by Mother Claw. You guys are looking at a kind of visual representation of Claw, Hoof, and Horn's guild hall. That's pretty much what it looks like, including the lava. And that is kind of what Mother Claw looks like. She does have a red dragon head. And she was conversing with someone. They were invited into her chambers, and she was conversing with someone in the shadows. A small gnome-sized or halfling-sized or I suppose a tall goblin would be that size individual. And they couldn't get a beat on who it was, but they did via a psionic crystal that Nurgen the Leech had, kind of got a view of her and who they were talking to, so they got a little bit of mystique there. But Gadu Bubaba, excuse me, kind of stopped them from looking around, and Mother Claw noticed what was going on. So she kind of kept an eye on the crystal. But Gadu Bubaba is the glibbering mouther that is intelligent, and the courtesan, not exactly courtesan in the traditional sense, more of like the court caller and stuff like that. He would announce individuals, remember names when necessary, remembering names, doing things like that. That was his job. He was her handler, basically, and you had to talk to him first. They mainly just had to wait a minute or two, and I let them do any kind of exploring they wanted to in the room before they were addressed by Mother Claw, who asked them to go and get a payment that was due according to Noso Bobo's records. And Noso Bobo is that really interesting looking monster down there with the humanoid torso on top of a creature. And he speaks out of that abdominal mouth. He is the record keeper and the court vizier. He is in charge of all the records and all of the things that are due the guild of Clawhoof and Horn. And he had noticed that a couple months had that last month's payment was not received from the town of Dosa. And Dosa had been very faithful in their payments for protection, in heavy air quotes. And it had worked out fine. It was rather lucrative, as that is the only trade point that the Guild of Claw, Hoof, and Horn have access to freely, I should say. So it was actually a rather necessary place for them to keep, and they wanted to have it kept. So you were supposed to go there, your group was supposed to go there, and figure stuff out, and get that payment that was due. You guys have any more remarks about what happened in the guild hall?
I will say, like, playing the character that I played, and I guess I should also say, for people who don't know, Sarkhan Vol is definitely a planeswalker from Magic the Gathering. I decided, like, not only would I branch out into the wide world of the Fullcaster, whose only confirmed kill was with his 6 strength and his quarterstaff, but I decided I would, like, play a character that I think is really, really interesting. And so, like, Sarkhan, we replaced Bolus with Mother Claw, essentially. So that part of the one-shot, I definitely spent a lot of time just staring at the floor. Well, no, that's not entirely true. I got to do a lot of stuff as a full caster.
You scried.
In the room, but there was a lot of questions I wanted to ask and, like, things I wanted to manipulate in the story. Not as in, like bluff check manipulate, but, like, things to tweak around with that I felt like the character couldn't. But that said, yeah, the scrying and the divination was... It gives me a little insight as a GM into, like, when I GM for Xandu over at Lord of the Caliber, the kind of information I should reveal to him, and it feels good to be able to have that. Like, before combat, I can do this kind of thing. But Sarkhan would not have ridden on a horse or a warg or a scary elephant monster or anything like that if he had his way.
True.
I definitely like seeing Mother Claw and all the monster servants she actually had. At the GM, some of my favorite monsters are are monsters using them not as combat NPCs, but using them as non-combat NPCs. So seeing a glittering mouse being used like that is pretty interesting.
Hmm. I thought it kind of fit for the idea of, hey, this thing has a bunch of mouths. It's basically the court announcer. It's the court keeper for Mother Claw. Seems like it would make sense.
Yeah. Just looking at the image of the glittering mouth is, I'm picturing what would the dentist bill and how much time do the monster need to actually use per day to actually keep it clean teeth?
Man, I imagine that we just like kill the dentist's family, take him hostage, and there you go.
It is an evil guild.
I count 7 or 8 mouths, so that's a lot of that's a lot of money just on teeth maintenance alone.
Yeah, and I did mention with Gado Bubaba that he had parts of his fleshy bits had skin that was more scale-like, and part of his eyes were not humanoid eyes; they were like lizard-like eyes. So it was definitely a unique glittering mouther. It wasn't just a stock one.
Yeah.
So he's
and a fun. Okay, I was just gonna say a fun thing that I got to do in the beginning is for Vitalists to really work, they have to be allowed permission into their friends' minds. Okay, I could have forced people into it, but then I would have gotten killed in melee. So that's different. And part of convincing everyone else to do it, when Tommy Sarkenvol went to scry, he got blinded, and I took his blindness upon myself.
Mm-hmm.
As like a campaign ad for, hey, you should let me into your mind.
Yeah, see how I can help you?
Also known as how I lived through the guild was, hey, you don't want to hurt me. Your life is way better if I'm around, right? Please don't touch me, please.
Right. It happened that way for a little while.
I feel
until
like
you
that
got
was
to
a
the
great deal of foreshadowing.
Yeah. Were you talking about my foreshadowing?
No, I'm talking about, like, he needs to, look, everyone, protect me. La 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 la. But that's kind of a spoiler. Also, I guess it's a good time to note that, like, a Vitalist comes from Ultimate Psionics. Is that the book that it comes from? Is that right?
Yes.
I believe so.
So that means I've GM'd or been in a party with a Aegis, a Vitalist now, and also a... Oh, God, what is Kuratama? I forget. I built that character for someone, and I don't remember...
Do you remember what they did?
It's an Augmented Blade, is the archetype.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
a soul knife. Yeah. Okay, so that's 3 of the classes from Ultimate Psionics, and though they're really good, they're really, really good, don't get me wrong. They're not anything that's going to tip the balance of your games. They're not anything that's going to, like, skew the meta in their favor. And thus, I really feel that for those of you out there who might be a little on the fence about adding third-party content into your games, Ultimate Psionics is perfectly balanced, perfectly reasonable, and by all means, you should do so.
Well, there you go. But, let's go ahead and get into what you saw in that scrying. You cast your eyes over the path that leads from the guild to Dosa, and as you did, that path stretched forth and you perceived this red and shadowy glow over Dosa. And as you got closer, that's when you started to make those saves, and that's when you had to had that blindness come on you. And we can switch over to a different map and set of graphics so that people can see that. Because Dosa is the gateway to the wastes. That's what it is called, and hopefully there it is. It starts bringing it up now. So, hopefully, everybody will see. The wasteland that leads between Dossa and the guild of Clawhoof and Horn is called the Hexen Wastes. And Clawhoof and Horn controls all of the Hexen Wastes. The Hexen Wastes are called such because during a past conflict with, not solely in the Civil War era of Kelagoth, but not long after it, when it was still trying to reform, and a little before its unification, it was attacked by the Empire of the Worm, which is the desert across the mountains, and it borders with what the Hexen Waste is now. And that is why the Hexen Waste is so messed up, because the mages on both sides, but mainly some of the witches and other unsavory mages in the Empire of the Worm, got a little spell happy and got a little wild with what they were doing. So now there are things called the witch winds, which blow through the Hexen Wastes, and hex and stuff like that. Hex and cast spells in the wind. The wind itself carries it. And they just stir up chaotically from one time or another. So you guys got to experience a little bit of that on the way. But that is what was done on the way. Any remarks about the trip to Dossa? Most of the stuff happened in Dossa. So is there anything you guys want to say about on the trip to Dossa?
I will say that, this was my third one-shot in the 9 guilds, I believe. Yeah, it was my third one-shot. Not fourth. Yeah, no, I wasn't part of Strange Events. I was part of Shadow. And I really like the 9 guild setting that you've put together. I feel like I don't get to see a whole lot of it, partially because I'm just dropping in for one-shots, and partially because, I don't have a PDF that I can just, flip through and be here's everything! I read all of the things. But it's very well put together, it's very flavorful, it's very, dare I say, professional, as opposed to a lot of settings that I've been as kind of go here! Oh, here's that! Here's some tornadoes in the desert, and they're bad. You might dispel them. Now, for the record, though, it would have been really sweet to throw a dispel magic at a tornado and make it go away. That would have been probably the most metal thing I'd ever done in my life.
Well, I mean, you could have tried.
The travel part was fun. I feel like one of the biggest problems of the RPG world, especially in larger parties, and Donald and Adam can attest to this one, I am sure. When you have a big party and you have to go somewhere, and it's a matter of how to get there, how you're going to go about it, what you're going to do, that sort of thing. A lot of times the session can bog down in the logistics of whether we should burn that teleport or walk our horses or whatever. This group, and maybe those because it was a one-shot, it was very 4 on the floor, this is how we're going, this is what we're doing. I didn't expect to play the survival card in this one shot, and as a shaman I can just cast spells to feed us, and as a divine caster I can wait an hour and then reset my spells back to the default. This is how I will fight you.
Right, and
it was pretty cool. I'll say that I definitely thought that the witch winds were going to hit us before we got to town, and this was some kind of big debuff before the fight. But I'm okay with not using these spells. That was fine with me.
Yeah.
Traveling. I actually like how you did the party travel through the waste. Tommy, the one issue when it comes to high level of play and large group for traveling purposes is generally, if you have too many choices, you have what is known as a choice paralysis. Cannot make a choice, but if you have a limited amount of choices, A, B, C, it's easier to go with those.
And that is part of the reason in Borderly Caliber there's a barrier over most of the land where you can't teleport. Just so that staring at the map for 45 minutes, like, let's go here or over here. Like, that's off the board. But we're not here to talk about Thomas' channel. We're here to talk about Adam's channel because this is Adam's show.
Well, there are similarities, I suppose. And the Witch Winds were there to make sure there was a fire under your butts so that if you did start to get choice paralysis, I would throw that at you and say, okay, what you gonna do now? You know that the Witch Winds, even at your 10th tier level of the guild, is not something you wanted to play with. And you guys made the checks appropriate to know that that thing was throwing around stuff like Disintegrate. And, yeah, because you saw it disintegrate a boulder. So, it was not a very good thing to try and dispel, which you didn't, which is good. One thing that I did do while you guys were getting closer is it is called the Gateway to, it is called the Hexen Wastes. So there was not a lot of food. So you guys kind of took care of that. You know, that's what you meant by the survival thing. But also, the herds that were there, I made sure that you understood that they knew what you were, and they stayed away, and also that they thinned out as you got closer to Dossa. So, that meant that you guys were getting a clue to something was going on. Usually there are herds around Dossa, because if someone wanders into the Hexen Waste, some of those meat-eating herds can come after them. And also, the Dawsons grow food. You know, they are a trade town. Smallish trade town, but trade town. So, there is that. And you guys started to see that. You did start to see the, cloud from very, very far away. And I made sure that you guys knew what was going on in Dossa. That I didn't just say, oh, you made it to Dossa, and now enter the chaos. A whole bunch of demons all spring on you at once. You guys saw the battle going on, which is a good time to tell the viewers what you did see. That picture that you viewers are seeing down there, that was what was going on. There were all different types underneath this shadowy, dark, thundercloud-looking thing that had lights of red flashing in it. And a city basically on fire and burning and being destroyed by not just demon-looking things, but devilish-looking things. Like it was a whole admixture of evil entities just flailing and fighting each other and destroying each other, as well as destroying the populace. And that was what you guys kind of rode in on. And they weren't leaving the shadow, the red haze of underneath the cloud. So this might be a good time for me to ask, well, what did you guys think of that, riding into that?
Blood for the blood god!
Having fighting already happening in the city gave it a nice sense of immersion. How are we going to get into the city without actually fighting anything? As generally, any tabletop mechanics, combat is usually a thing. So I was thinking, how could we actually sneak through the city with all the combat going on? And I was thinking, if we fail one roll, someone is going to notice us. So,
yeah, I will say, like, and this is not to like critique the one shot in any way, shape, or form, but when I came in like this is an evil one shot, I definitely had it in my head that there would be some torture, there would be some extortion. A lot of the spells I took reflect that as well. I definitely thought. I also that's for later, but I like. Not to say it was bad, but I will say, and I believe the Australian, because Shane had a rank profession torturer.
Uh-huh.
So we can be prepped for this. And then we roll up on the city, and everybody's killing everybody else, and it's a complete flip of the script. pretty glad I didn't, because I was going to play Shaman, and I decided to play Shaman, but before that, I was going to play a Goramite Barbarian, who would have probably just, left the party into the mosh pit. I voluntarily fail my save. Here we go.
Yeah, when the problem I had, I thought we were going to be facing up against a lot of good aligned creatures, so I did prepare for that. But then,
protection from law, protection from good, detect law, detect good.
Yes, so
you and me both, yeah.
So I made what would be a equivalent of a combat cleric anti-paladin, and thinking we're going to face things that are not evil, so I should change my cleric prepared spells for the day. So I'm actually glad I wasn't limited to a fixed list for the day.
Yeah, we definitely need that hour to sit down and rethink our lives.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting to have the freedom to sit out, watch what was going on, especially the case of the red pulses.
Indeed.
Which were very important to understanding more or less what was going on. I know that I definitely was going in there planning on, looking into the mayor's head.
Mm-hmm.
And, working that angle. But at the same time, I actually got to take the time to send my little crystal to scout ahead before we actually did our real foray into it.
Yes.
That is very true. The power of the Psi Crystal, or the psionics, and I know earlier I said that, it's cool. Let psionics in your world. They won't break nothing, but Psi Crystals are very, very strong.
They're great scouts.
Mm-hmm. Factual.
Yeah.
Indeed. But yeah, you guys did get that, and you got to observe it, too.
Oh, yeah. And you had a really cool mechanic with the Psi Crystal, where basically... Oh, we haven't talked about what the Red Haze does to non-people, so I'll bring up what happened with the Psi Crystal once we discuss that.
Okay. Well, we can do that right now. The Red Haze, and what they observed as they were watching, previously, I think it was Sarkhan. Yeah, it was Sarkhan, because he wanted to make an Arcana check, or some kind of check, to better grasp what might be causing the stuff that was happening that he did get to glimpse over Dosa. And Dosa, as he got closer, and he thought about it, and he was like, what about this and that? It revealed that the best that he could grasp, it just radiated evil. He asked, I believe the question was, what is the cause of the problem at Dosa? Or, no. It was worded in such a way where I was free to answer. What force is behind the problem at Dosa? And the appropriate answer was evil. Was what was causing that at Dosa. And the red haze, generated by something that we will talk about in a minute, was sending up a pulse of red light into this cloud. And this thunder cloud, this red lightning thunder cloud, would then, once the power dispersed into the cloud, it would rain down lightning. And this happened about every 30 to 45 minutes, and they got to time that out, so that was important. And every 30 to 45 minutes, it would rain down this lightning, and they watched as individuals, as some of the few humans left were ripped apart by these demons that had lasted this long, but were encompassed in this red haze, fighting them demons, fighting each other. They were ripped apart, and whatever falls off them, whether they were alive or not, when the lightning struck it, it would amalgamate all of the different viscera that it struck, and it would coagulate it into a new demonic, devilish, currently undefined, perhaps protean-type creature that would then commence with the continued raging. And that's kind of what was happening. Everybody was involved and encompassed and enveloped in this rage aura. And that's why everybody was obliterating everybody else. But they did get to scout out, and they found that this damage seemed to donut out. It seemed to radiate out from the center of town, or a little off center of town, under this little canopy that you guys see on the screen. And so they decided to make their way to that. But there were will saves involved, and the said hobgoblin, once he entered into the mist, he didn't make a save.
He did not. No, he didn't.
And he started...
It was real bad.
Yeah, he started wailing on the party. And he was doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he was. And to make it worse, one of the things that I'd done on my shaman, because we were playing an evil one-shot, is I, possibly foolishly, some may say, and most of that one-shot I was kicking myself for it, but I did not choose the Fortune Hex because it felt incorrect for the flavor, so I chose the Fury Hex, which made the saves worse on our melee guys. And then, I guess to tip a little more of my character sheet, Adam did let me with, I had Craft Wonders item as one of my feats, so I was, I'm gearing myself out with crafting prices, and also I'm playing a middle-aged character, so I'm coming into that thing with a 28 wisdom, so my will save is plus 20 from, there's no class I took. Well, the Cross-Blooded Sorcerer gives me nothing to my saves, because that's the drawback. But I have a plus 20 to my saves. Nobody else, the fighter does not. And he fails, and so obviously here I am, okay, I need to hold person that dude. It fails, because he passes, because he rolls a 19. Okay, I'm going to slumber that dude. Good, great, misfortune. And I just, no matter what I threw at that dude, I think eventually I misfortuned him, and I was able to just chant and keep him down long enough for somebody to deal with him, but boy!
Mm-hmm.
I save for all those things. I was surprised how lucky he was. If it continued on anymore, I was pretty close to killing a actual party member. And normally I don't like PvP or killing other party members off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I definitely, when someone tells me evil one-shot, I assume it's at least kind of on the table. If somebody would have done something that Sargon didn't like if somebody would have just blatantly disrespected Mother Claw, yeah, okay, I'm going to immolate them. That's going to happen to them. That's their fate.
Fair.
Well, I didn't expect it to be half the session.
Well.
But that's definitely, as a GM, that's a very good way to challenge your party, because, especially, if your party knows how to build, because there you go, it's gonna have better stats than anything at CR in this year.
Which is why I didn't pay much attention to CR when I was making this encounter.
That is fair. Yeah, considering the rest of the encounter was dretches.
Yep. That is something that happened.
I did not think those were dretches. They showed up, and I'm they're in my face. I don't want to use hexes. I'm gonna boop them with my quarterstaff. I have 6 strength. Here we go. And that was my only kill.
I am pretty sure with the build that I have, if I did use the channel energy charges I had left, I could have had probably killed the fighter in a one-on-one fight, but I would have had probably put myself into a worse situation when it came to the boss fight later on in the session with one party member out effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess I will also say it reflects well on the players that we did not choose to kill Shane's character. We certainly could have. I don't remember exactly how he went down at the end. I think we had.
He was magically affected to the point. well, he was magically affected to the point where he was basically on the ground. Nurgen put him on the ground with nauseated and prone and
Fatigue.
Yeah, fatigue. There was nothing he was going to do to you guys. So you basically just kind of trolled him back out to where he could be outside of it, because you do have to forcibly remove someone from the aura once they've failed.
Tommy, also, it does show some traits us as players at the table. If this was the same situation at a different table, I'm pretty sure people would have had killed off another person's character.
Possibly.
No. Had I brought 2 moons in, assuming the barbarian passed that save, it probably would have been like it'd been very uncharacter for 2 moons to just like drive a great sword through him, and then if he was a true primitive is the archetype, so that would have been one of my trophies. I just remove that dude's head and jam it on a spike on my chest and walk around. Literally.
So you'd be playing
very, very well.
2 moons is basically the evil version of Moon.
I don't know, dude. Your kid is pretty evil in those games. Can I skin it? No, you can't.
Adam, I'm surprised with the one shot I watched was Moon trying to actually skin a sentient creature. Are you sure he is playing a good line character?
Not for much longer.
Bum bum bum. I don't know. He wants to try.
I definitely need to go back and watch that one shot, and I need to find that part where he comes, like he gets up to the table to, like, go get a drink, and then he comes back with the can of Bud Light, just nonchalant, like there's no problem here at all, and he just sits down.
Yeah, he thought it was like a
it's
Pepsi.
somewhere in there.
He probably thought it was like a Pepsi.
It's the same color. It looks blue.
Yep.
Greg's just nope.
But
yeah.
You guys also, let me see. You guys basically got him out of there, calmed him down, and then made your way back in, making sure that everybody's passed this time on their save, slowly reinserting yourself back into the chaos and the hate that happened. A story point to mention is that one thing entered the hobgoblin's mind when he entered in there and failed that save, and that was that one word, corn. So, yes, there was a 40k reference, 30k, 40k reference from Warhammer in this one-shot, which plays into the Broken Universe in certain ways, because the universe is breaking. And you guys will get to see that session 0 that we had not long ago here at the end of Planar Crossroads. But soon, very soon. But it also gave you an idea of what this power source below that was shooting up power was based around too. What type of power it might be focused on, because you were basically enraged. And Tommy's allusion to the idea of, yes, when you come into this cloud, there's the rage effects. If you have a rage effect on you, it makes it harder. Yes, those emotional effects that aggravate on purpose, like rage or barbarian's rage or stuff like that, it is even harder to resist that. But we're coming close on time, so we gotta keep moving. They come into the center of town, or the semi-center of town, which is this area, and they found a hole underneath this outcropping that had been shooting up this power. On their way, while they had scouted with the psi crystal, they saw a shadow of a small category creature moving back and forth. And when they got to back and forth through the town and over the rooftops, and when they got to the underground, when they got to this hole at the edge of the courtyard, they saw, with a perception check, a small category creature going down the hole just before it started to go and blast up. before they could get to the hole. So, like we talked about, that particular courtyard was there, and it was not affected or not involved in conflict. It seemed to radiate out from that. They were able to come to that area, let a rope down, which they actually did need rope, and it was really cool that Nurgen had brought, Nurgen brought plenty of rope, because it was a big way down.
Rope of Infinite Twine is fun.
There you go.
Yeah. Rope. That is one item that I'm surprised with the amount of time at IGM people do not actually have on their character sheet, or so the essential adventure items.
Oh, you gotta have that grappling arrow. Grappling arrow and 80 foot of knotted silk rope. That's all you need. DC 5 climb check and you're up all the things.
Yep. That's changing in second
Until
edition.
somebody cuts that rope and you fall real hard like you do in a clock tower. But that's a different story.
Too bad I didn't kill anybody with that. But,
yeah.
After they made their way down the hole, it appeared to be an old dried out well, and there were sigils along the side near the bottom. And they made their way down and made their way down. Everybody made their checks. No one fell to their death, because it was a very long drop. I believe it said it was around 200 feet down. And then when they got down there, they found a cantaloupe-sized hole in the center of this circular spot that they were in, and a hallway leading off and down. And so they started to follow that. And because they got good enough perception checks, they saw small category footprints in the dust and in the blood. It was bloody footprints because of all the blood up high. And they followed those, and because they followed them, they were not affected by any of the traps that were in that hallway, which there was like a fireball trap. They would set off another one and another one in succession, type thing, and the blade traps and things along those lines. Fun, hazardy type stuff. But they made their way down, and that's where they came when they came to this area that you guys see up here that had this glowing oval type orb thing with wrought cast iron around it to hold whatever this was in, or it looked like wrought cast iron. And they also saw in there as they started to come in, and I thought it was funny that they were tracking this small category creature, and maybe they were like, you guys can tell me, but maybe you were like, we're going to have to fight this creature, so we better challenge him before we go in.
I thought that the boss was a Shadow Dancer. Just straight up. That's what I thought we were fighting.
I thought the tracks we were following and saw the boss saw what we were going to be facing. I was thinking before the boss fight, this was a shape changer or some outsiders that have ability to change their appearance or even teleport.
Oh.
Well, that ability to... I have to say that I honestly had started to get a weird impression that, like, under there is where the villagers had found a hiding place and, like, were somehow differently affected from the whatever, and that it was going to be a more social and interacting and finding out stuff than an actual just blood for the blood god.
Skulls for the Skull Throne!
That was something that was kind of talked about. But yeah, I figured that you guys had, for a one-shot, there was heavy combat in it, which is why I skipped one portion of what was in here, which I can take the fog off now. And one thing that I had in there, I had an NPC in my back pocket for if you guys started to get stuck. You would find this particular one in the square here. and you would talk to her, and she would be like, yeah, it's down there. It is the great power. It is yada, 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 yada. And she would guide you down that way, and tell you to go down that way. But you just followed the shadow, which was good. And no spoilers for her, because she might come up later. Who knows?
I think she will.
Who knows? Broken Universe is being played in the setting of Kelligoth, but strange things are happening. Also, there was somebody else down there in that area, and he was a big boy. He was this dude right here that the viewers are seeing, a skull-faced, chitinous, armored individual with the upper torso of a humanoid, the lower torso of a beast, probably close to a hoofed beast, because there were no paws. More like chitinous hooves covered by and legs and body of chitinous armor with a flitting chitinous tail. But he was a big boy. He was a gargantuan. Mechanically, he was a gargantuan creature. You can see that he had 245 hit points with resistances and immunities and DR. No one had DR good. So if you want to challenge an evil party, tell them they have to have DR good weapons. He had power behind him, and he had a lance. And I wanted to make sure that Tommy felt the fear of this creature, because he was basically a 4 times advanced centaur with some Glabrazu abilities.
He was scary. I will say, like, I wasn't afraid for me as much as I was afraid for Shane and Donald, and secondarily Adam, because, like, as the shaman, and this is a position I don't normally find myself in, but there's bodies between me and the bad guy, so, like, when the spirited charge comes down, it's probably going to hit the fighter first, so if I need to, like, de-ass the area, I have that ability to do so. That said, when you started flavor texting his lance, I mean, somebody's getting killed right now. Here it is.
Yep.
That's how this works.
And I'm actually quite glad with the combat cleric spell I chose. That definitely helped weaken the boss fight at the end, as I had a epic killing blow at the end that it wasn't me attacking it.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, and the party had a lot of synergy with, and it was unintentional, because nobody really talked about their builds with each other. Like, I knew Donald was playing a cleric, that's because, like, I talked to Donald, like, 4 times a week, but Flame Curse ended up being really strong, because that was the only thing I could really stick on this dude, because everything rolled really well throughout this one shot, except us. It did our curse. But, like, there's a sorcerer who can cast fire spells. There's I don't know Donald's spell list, but I imagine, like, Flame Strike might have been on there. In addition, like, my Drake has the Drakes are bad. Oh man, the Drakes are bad. I should have listened.
Maybe
to
they'll be better in 2nd edition.
Yeah, maybe, but here they were poopy. But
Anduin,
giving something
not
vulnerability to
powerful.
fire, giving something vulnerability to fire, and then being able to chant and just leave that on forever in a world where there's a bunch of people in the party is really strong, and it feels really good to flavor text. Like, I definitely just popped up, like, just magic cards with Sarkon in the flavor text and just described what he was doing as I cast, like, Fireball, or... Again, there were a lot of spells that I didn't get a chance to stick, because one of the best ones is called Trial by Fire, and it has to target something that both worships a different deity than you, and unless it's, like, a dragon totemist, I think I'm great, but also is of a different, like, has to be, like, majorly of a different alignment. So I'm chaotic evil, it needs to be some kind of lawful or some kind of good. But one of the spells I did have that I really enjoyed in this fight was called Screaming Flames. It's from, I believe it's from Horror Adventures. That sounds spooky, right? Yeah, it's from Horror Adventures. And what it is you cast the spell, and it makes Looking at a sheet of flame that's 15 feet long and 10 feet high, and it moves 15 feet forward, which is a really interesting bit of, like, area for a spell to affect that one normally doesn't see. In Pathfinder, usually it's like an X foot radius or a Y foot blase. But it's, they're taking 5d8 fire damage from, just based off the spell, and then my bloodline adds 2 for each die, so 5d8 plus 10, and then it's damage and a half if he has vulnerability to fire. And then I don't think he ever took any wisdom damage, but after you get hit with that, there's a will save where you take a d3 of wisdom damage. Yeah. So I could, like, I had that spell prepped a lot, and the idea was just throw this at his face until he is dead, and it felt really good.
Yeah, I felt like I finally got to challenge a party by having this monster that I made work against him. I will tell everybody that I did have to lower the AC because he had a 41 AC. Very few of you guys were going to hit him. And he was rolling too well to be affected by your spells. If this bodes any kind of portents for the Broken Universe, you guys better get ready to get critted, because he was rolling really well.
Yeah, he was too. He definitely was. It was as a fellow GM, I think that's totally okay to, like, switch your encounter up on the fly if you need to. If the party's just, like, if you're gonna kill them, that's one thing. But if they're really royally screwed and they can do nothing, it's totally fine. Like, for example, this goes live for 2 of the people who I'm talking to played in this, but if Levi watches Lord of the Gallery, the next episode goes live tomorrow morning, and they decided to split the party, and I knew there was going to be a really, really deadly encounter happen in the course of that session, because it was time to get you guys back on the main quest, so I needed to start introducing people. Well, all the full casters split up, and they were the ones, because we're targeting Donald's, because Donald's is not more important than any other character, but, like, as far as the story goes, she's a little higher up the ladder. And then here come all these guys that just get a drop on the party. And I definitely almost killed Kane's Druid in the first round.
Yep.
But, like, when it comes around to my next full attack, I intentionally, air quotes, miss the, I didn't roll all 6 of my attacks in a full attack. I just rolled the 4, which is still real good, and it still puts the fear of God in them. But, like, if you need to roll down your encounters on the fly, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Or if, like, you need to introduce or, like, develop another character's budding story in such a way that he gets a lot of power to overcome it, which was a lot of fun to watch. That's definitely, like, I could see in this one shot, like, Sarkon now has the power of all the dragons, ha ha ha, and then just start blasting people.
The encounter in the Lord of the Caliber game, I was worried that it was going to be a TPK, generally for the casters against everyone in the area of the combat. I was worried that it was going to be a TPK right there.
It could have been. Like, it was, the Hell Knight has a lot of levels, but he's like scripted to not attack you unless you attack him. It was more those knife masters. Those are the ones that are like his attack dogs, essentially. And then there was stuff you guys didn't see as well.
Yeah. We got that. But you have to watch over at Black Dragon Gaming, the Lordly Caliber series.
I might actually call that episode The Wrath of Sarenrae, because the Wrath of Sarenrae directs to this. So.
No. Chazakha refuses to believe that they're true followers of Sarenrae. He refuses. Back to this guy, though. He was really... He KO'd the Hobgoblin warrior, the Hobgoblin fighter twice. And he has reach, and he was able to attack one time. I think he had one reaction. I mean, one AOO that he could do. So he was able to hit someone, and no one else was getting close to him, except Bloodmaw. So Bloodmaw was getting close, and once he did, he had 2 people that he was fighting, and he was bouncing back and forth. He had multiple attacks. Some were secondary, like his hooves. But he was definitely kicking butt, but they were starting to wail in on him. They were starting to hit him. Because I bumped it down to like a 30 something. I bumped his AC down into the 30s instead of in the 41, which sounded a lot more fair with the way you guys were rolling. And you guys did start to hit him then, and without having to crit, because I think even the fighter, I was looking at the numbers in Roll20 when you hover over them. I was looking at what he was rolling in his modifiers, and if he's the one that's hitting the hardest, that means that this guy, he almost had to crit. There was a 15% chance that he would hit, which was not good enough in my opinion, at least as far as the dice goes. So I was like, I gotta bump that down some. So that went fine after we bumped it down, made it a better encounter. And I started to flavor it where he was, starting to lose his armor and stuff, and flames of pure wrath were leaking out of him. And he was starting to think, you know what? I don't like these two I'm beside right now. And that's when I was like, what am I gonna do? Oh. And you guys literally heard me go, oh. And I was stuck because I'd used reversed gravity at the beginning, but I had one more thing on the Glabrazu skill set that would help him. He teleported over by Nurgen, who was way far away from the other party. And to put that into context, they spent 2 rounds getting to him because of the cavernous nature of this area, because it was big enough for this gargantuan creature to charge in. So he teleported right over to Nurgen and was like, you dead. And just full attacked Nurgen. Nurgen is dead. We overkilled Nurgen by like 100 hit points. But what was fun... What was fun was then I got to flavor in what would happen if someone died. And a pulse went out of this orb that was caged in the wrought iron swirls. And it streamed into Nurgen. And Nurgen came back up with full hit points and was on the side of the bad guy. Didn't last long, but he was.
Yeah. I have to say, during that fight, the amount of healing I threw down, like, I gave everyone 25 temporary hit points at the start of the fight. I healed 90 hit points at least 2 times, maybe 3, maybe 4 times.
Twice. You did it at least twice, because you gave it once to... You gave it once to Meldak, twice to Meldak. So.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Like, the amount of healing that I was able to throw down on that Vitalist build was wonderful, but it was about all I could do. Because I tried to, collapse the thing and force it into my mind meld and all the other great, wonderful things that I can try and do. But, just like Sarkin, it just, all my saves.
Yeah, that guy's saves were unreal. Which is super relevant, knowing there's someone with misfortune in the squad that's going to be targeting the one and only guy. Because, had he rolled bad against the first or with the cursed hex second misfortune, the fight could have gone, and would have gone way, 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 way different.
Yep. But they fought that individual, and if Nurgen had gotten a single turn, which Nurgen was up next, after Bloodmaw, Nurgen was up next. And so, if Nurgen had been able to throw some healing around and steal it from them because they were technically still within his mind meld thing, it would have been very interesting. But they didn't. That didn't get to happen because Bloodmaw was able to do the last shred of health damage to him because he got overconfident and made a mistake. And it was good. It was a very... I'm glad you guys won. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad you guys won.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys won.
Ha ha!
See if...
But no, it was a good time.
Yep.
As a player, I actually do enjoy these close to TPK party deaths, a type of encounter. It definitely make winning mean something than just a simple overall damage force on the enemy for a quick win.
Yeah, no, I concur. I concur so hard. As a player, like, if I'm not being challenged in combat and the combat is just constantly trivialized and we kind of just dance through it, it's real easy for me to get bored with a character. So, like, when you come into this fight where it's very down to the wire, the fighter's down twice, the Vitalist is up on the other side, I think I'm down to, like, burning hands at this point in the encounter. I've used almost all my resources at this gigantic thing, and then when you win, that victory it's all the sweeter.
Yeah. And as they escaped, they had to escape because somebody decided to disintegrate the pillar that this thing was hovering above, which made it start to fall down, and Sarkhan went and grabbed it. He made his will save because right now it's not a high DC. We'll say that it's not at its full power or its full potency just yet, and won't spoil anything else, because I believe Tommy already knows what this thing probably was.
Yep.
But they grab it, and they stuff it in there, wrap it up and stuff it, and have to leave because the place starts to go and starts to crumble in. So they run and they make their way up, they make their way out, and as they're leaving, the whole of Dosa basically collapses in on itself into this bowl of where those catacombs were and all that stuff was. Apparently there was a lot more catacombs all underneath, deep underneath, but underneath of Dosa. And enough of it fell in that it made it go into a big old bowl, and the cloud disappeared and dissipated, and these demon dretch admixture of all different types of NCRs of demons, because that was a thing. There was big CR demons in here and devils and stuff like that, but there was also these little ones, and everybody was just fighting. They kind of look around at each other and they don't know what to do, and all the humans are basically dead. I mean, all of the villagers, I should say, because they're not all humans, basically dead. And everybody just kind of dispersed out in this haze, in this post-adrenaline rush, post-rage haze, and wandered into the countryside. As these guys started, were running and leaving, but when they got on top of a hill, at the edge of town, in the shadow of a tree that was, outside of the collapse radius, was this short, and I believe they made a skill check high enough, a perception check high enough to know it was a gnome in the shadow of a tree that, as they kind of did a double take, was gone. And that's where we left the game.
That is where we left it. I will say, I'm hoping that this one-shot appears a little more in Broken Universe when we get down for that. I don't know how much agency I have over my character now that I'm going from chaotic evil to neutral horse torture. But, Sarkhan sees the orb, and we were told when we went to Dosa to fix things, find whatever's causing this, bring it back. It's for though Mama is a chimera, not a dragon, Sarkhan knows no better. Because that's kind of his story arc in Magic as well. So you see this thing, it's okay, this is the property of Clawhoofed Horde. This is for their horde. This is to increase our power. So Sarkhan would take it just straight back. There's no question. There's just, off we go. This is for you.
Yes.
But whether or not he gets there or has the agency to do so or gets corrupted by what it is or anything in between, it'll be interesting to see that play out in the second edition campaign that we'll be running really, really soon over here at IOPC, and I'm really excited for it.
One shots like this, I definitely like seeing the poster effects of the previous party actions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely see that in the 9 guilds, because Milcian is no more now. Well, it's not no more, but it's not a place that you want to go to anymore from one of the other one-shots. So that is good to know.
That is correct.
But thank you, travelers, for coming by. Do you guys have any final remarks? We're already over our hour mark. So you guys have any final remarks for individuals that are watching, for the travelers watching?
I will say, like, as always, thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to, like, come out and fill spots and throw dice around with you at all times, pretty much. It was a whole lot of fun. I recommend Adam's one-shots to anybody who might be watching out there, because Adam, like, coming from a guy who most of my time with Adam has been in Rise of the Rune Lords, and Kane will back me up 100% of this, Adam's a whole lot more, I will not say proficient, because he is proficient, but when he has license to create a thing, as opposed to when it's like, alright, here comes Black Maga, ha ha ha. It's really immersive, it's really fun. You get to, like, it's kind of a no-holds-barred thing on your character as well. And when you guys are at 272 subscribers, I think you are, and I know you jumped up pretty hard.
Yeah, we jumped up really hard today. I don't know why. People must be getting excited for the second edition stuff, because
I'm telling you, it's because you put out content.
Yeah.
You gotta keep that rolling. You got that Starfinder video. But when we get to 400 over here at IOPC, they're running another one-shot, and don't make me come out and play a character. Be there. It's super fun. You don't want to miss out.
We are at 277, and it is supposed to be Colin's one-shot this coming time, so we'll see. We'll see.
See, part of me is curious. What is the one-shot Colin is going to GM?
We'll have to get him to 400 subs, won't we?
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. It should be thoroughly entertaining, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, it'll be so cool. And you and I will probably end up playing in it, Donald, so it'll be great.
Who knows?
Just knowing...
You, Tommy, and Levi will probably be in the 5 that go.
And Latiniski down from Poland, and we'll have an Australian friend, and it'll be great. It'll be so cool.
And knowing the odds, I probably will be playing in it, assuming I can fit the time off into my work hours.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Speaking of the time, we need to get our butts to house divided. I don't know when Joe's showing up, but
you do. He said he was going to. Yeah, he said he was going to be later today. So you guys aren't.
Okay, fair enough.
You guys aren't crushed for time, but we do need to.
Also, I'd like to go to the bathroom and eat before I have to play for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Levi, did you have any?
And definitely XSplit. Let's see. I would say that the most interesting thing about it was that even though it was a one-shot, like, you could definitely feel the built-in campaign world, that, like, it gave me an urge to see what an actual long-term campaign in that setting would be like.
Hey man, that's 2 weeks from now.
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because as we go through the Broken Universe, Kelligoth will play a main part in it, and for those interested in playing in this homebrew world, we will be posting things under the House Specials part of our webpage that will allow you to see the information about these different areas.
Aw, yeah.
So there you go.
I have good timing with my statements, apparently.
You do!
Yes, you do. All right. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for doing the reflection, and we hope that next time all of the individuals that can be here, that played in, can be here. We missed getting their reflections. We missed hearing their voices on the reflections, but it happens. Thank you, travelers, for watching. Have a great day. God bless, and enjoy. Bye.
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 This content was made possible by the generous support of patrons and travelers like you. Thank you.